Hi everyone and welcome back. This is week 2 of Law-Life Balance with me, Caitlin McPhee, and this week we're going to be discussing a really meaty topic of long working hours culture. Now, in professional services in general, we talk an awful lot about long hours working culture, and this week we've seen some stories coming out which have highlighted some worrying trends. If you've been keeping up with the news, you will have seen a Goldman Sachs slide deck which came out earlier this week speaking about 100 plus hour working weeks for junior bankers, and weeks like this aren't uncommon in the legal industry either. But I have a question, and the question is this: is it the long hours that are really the problem, or is there something else at play? Now here's my theory. Long hours in and of itself isn't necessarily the issue. There's no doubt about it. Right now, I'm working an awful lot of hours. Not least do I have a full-time job, I'm also putting together this whole new movement on the side, whilst also trying to balance a lot of other responsibilities. But is that necessarily a problem? No. And why not? Well, let's get into that. It's my view that the issue here isn't necessarily about the number of hours that we work, but the way that we work those hours. Some of you will have heard of the concept of presenteeism. What is presenteeism? Presenteeism is the phenomenon of employees coming to work when they're sick or otherwise shouldn't be there, or staying at work for longer than they should because they feel like they have to. Why does this happen? Well, often it's because employees don't want to be deemed weak or incapable, or because they want to appear stronger or better than their peers. And this is particularly the case in competitive work environments such as professional services and particularly in the law. It's my personal view that the majority of presenteeism takes place in the law because of assumptions that we ourselves have made. It definitely hasn't often been the case for me that I've been told to stay at work past a certain time. Instead, I've looked around the office, seen that it's still busy, that many people are still there, and felt therefore that I can't leave my desk. I remember as a trainee operating on the assumption that I couldn't leave my desk before my principal had finished their work. That said, it's not always the case that we're operating on the basis of assumptions. And I have definitely heard some horror stories from friends and peers who've been told, worryingly, that they have to stay at their desk until a certain, very late and unreasonable hour. Sometimes it's true, there's a lot of work to do, and it does mean that we need to work long hours to get the work done. But why is presenteeism in itself a problem? With presenteeism, there's little room for people to have a life outside of work and to balance work with their other responsibilities. That lack of flexibility can lead to really high stress levels, a complete lack of work-life balance, and ultimately burnout. In Deloitte's recent study about mental health in the workplace, they estimated that mental health-related presenteeism costs employers an average of between 27 and 29 billion pounds each year. So the effects of presenteeism seem to be negative across all levels of the business, not just on an organisation's bottom line, but also on its employees. So what can we do about it? The English criminal justice system operates on the maxim, innocent until proven guilty. So my question is, why is it that we treat our employees any differently? Why do we operate on the assumption that our employees can't be trusted to do the job and do the job well on their own terms? Why is it that we still have micromanagement in the industry? Most lawyers, by their nature, are extremely driven, highly intelligent, highly ambitious people. We like to succeed. We like to do a good job, and we like to be told well done. The likelihood of a lawyer actively choosing to do a bad piece of work or to perform badly, especially during their training contract, is pretty low. The act of micromanaging and telling people exactly how, when, and where to do their job breeds a really negative culture. Without trust, there's no relationship. Start with trust. There's been a trend going around on social media lately with various managers copying this post that says something along the lines of, "I don't care how you do your job. I don't care where you do it or when you do it, just get the job done." And that's what we need to be doing here. We need to put the trust back in our people. We employed our people for a reason. We employed them not just because they're technically good, not just because they're able, but also because they're good people. And what we need to do more than anything is accept that everybody is different and everybody has a life outside of work. I know that during the pandemic and working remotely, it has felt for many people as though we're not working from home. In fact, we're now living at work. But that's not what we're designed to do. And once the pandemic ends, life outside of work will resume, and we need to make space for that. In my personal opinion, the key to solving the issue of presenteeism is to create more space for flexibility in the work environment. We know that we can do this. We have the technology, we have the systems. We've proven over the last year that we can work remotely, we can work from anywhere. We're contactable all the time, which can be a problem, but also can be a massive benefit. The key to success here is communication. We have to learn to communicate our whereabouts to our teams and make sure that we're available to get the job done when it needs to be. But by that same token, we need to create the space and the permission for people to have flexibility in the first place. It cannot any longer be seen as a negative thing if people need to leave work early to pick up their children from school, take them home, have dinner, and pick up work later. It also cannot be the case that it's only parents of children that deserve a life outside of work. We've seen the detriment to people's mental health of being deprived from social contact over the last year. We haven't seen our families, we haven't seen our friends, and we're now looking at a mental health pandemic on our hands. When we go back to work, can we do things differently? Can we create that space for people to have that life outside of work that everybody needs? And in doing so, can we reduce the levels of stress and burnout in our industry? It shouldn't be the case that we have to be 24/7 switched on. It shouldn't be the case that we can't turn our phones off at night and have a peaceful night of sleep. I can already anticipate some of the pushback here, which is that often, as lawyers, we feel we don't have control over the demands of our clients. And yet I would challenge that, because we do. Pushy clients only expect the phone to be picked up at 3 a.m. because the phone has previously been picked up at 3 a.m. We need to implement stronger boundaries, and we need to wake up to the impact that these practices are currently having on our colleagues. And the other key thing to remember here is that these changes are occurring across all sectors. Our clients are also waking up to the importance of mental health, and clients are now often choosing firms based on how they treat their lawyers. I've personally received a few messages over the last week from prospective clients saying that mental health is a key consideration for them in choosing a panel firm. That's a really important statement. So let's do away with the old attitude of, well, this is how it was in my day and therefore how it should be for you. Let's build more flexibility into our working culture. Let's make room for people to have a life outside of work and prioritise their mental health and well-being. Let's do away with presenteeism. Let's reduce levels of stress and burnout in our industry. And let's make it a nicer place to work for everybody. I'm going to be back here next week discussing another juicy topic. But in the meantime, I would love to hear your views on this one. So please do get in touch with me, get involved in the comments on social media channels, and let's see where this conversation goes. I'll look forward to seeing you back here this time next week. Have a great week, everyone.